Greetings, Mega Man fans, and welcome back to the Mega Man Rock Force LPA. In this episode, we'll be taking our first step into Justice Man's Eagle Fortress. More specifically, we'll be going to the fortress's moat to take on Fishman, one of Justice Man's two remaining generals. This rock design to the left is exactly the same as the rock designs used in Deathman's stage. We aren't very far from there at all. Yeah, Deathman's stage I honestly kind of consider the first fortress stage of the game, effectively. Anyway, before I get too far into any of this, Kevin's Stage 47 is the theme playing here, another public domain water level theme. And this one, with its more melancholic tune, I find exceptionally fitting for this stage, especially given the reveal that we just got. As you might guess, this is, in fact, a water stage, though it starts out a lot like the traditional fortress approach, with the Stomper enemies on full parade. The ability to snipe that Sniper Joe is helpful for killing it quickly. That being said, it's also a little dangerous, as you do still have to jump. And now, Elite and Petri Fish come together to threaten you. This first set isn't too bad, as you can lure the Elite away from the Petri Fish fairly easily. This set, though, does not offer you that luxury, making it actually surprisingly likely that you will take a hit there. In earlier recordings, that Elite has actually managed to tag me, and those things hurt. Sniper Joe and Petri Fish, by contrast, isn't quite as impressive a combination. Bit of a pity, but oh well, can't have everything. Elite and Petri Fish still make a really good combo. Like, wow, it's impressive. And here we have a mid-boss, Seedy. He's a sea serpent with a mohawk, and the only new enemy type in this stage. Well, unless you're playing on hard mode, at which point you have to deal with these fish finders both above water and underwater. Your first encounter with them above water has them basically reskinned tomatoes from Charade Man stage, even adding themselves to that boss fight from, against Seedy just earlier. Though, in these underwater segments here, they instead are these irritating, infinitely respawning homing fish that will float downwards and not, like, directly towards you. They'll tend to fly past you and then reorient themselves constantly, making them far more difficult to deal with than the average homing weapon. We'll see them later on, though, don't worry. Now, this is the water stage, which not only means water physics, but also plenty of spikes. Unlike most water stages, though, it also actually has a plentiful amount of dodging. It has instant death in spades, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it outright relies on it to provide all of its challenge. In fact, quite the contrary, I'm fairly sure you could switch out a vast majority of the instant death present in this level and still have something legitimately challenging. For example, Root Tube and Sniper Joe right here. They're just desynced enough that Root Tube's additional little bullet on top of Sniper Joe's regular fire can actually be rather tricky to dodge, since Root Tube's aim is infinitely better. That's probably one of the main strengths of this stage. Yes, there's basically nothing in here that we haven't seen before, unless you count Dive Man blowing up that wall, which, incidentally, Phantom Fuse will not stop him. He'll charge forward with or without it. But, the main strength of this stage is the way it takes familiar enemies, such as the Gel 101s, and puts them in new situations. And that was bad. Yeah, that jump is one of the trickiest ones in the level. Really. I have been able to manage dealing with it before, but that wasn't one of those times. Come to think of it, normally I've taken a bit more damage before now. And that right there was a pixel-perfect jump. And plenty of killer mosquitoes in here. If you hadn't played Plague Man stage, you would have had the mosquitoes would be brand new to you if you got the second set. But since I showed both of them, we all know that they were formerly present in Plague Man stage. And killing that rude tube there is a really good idea. Likewise with sniping that Sniper Joe, because Sniper Joe, Rude Tube, and Petri Fish together is actually a fairly scary combination. It is very, very easy to get yourself killed there if you aren't careful. It's also rather easy to get yourself killed here in this underwater pit rod section. That being said, this place is still doable, even Buster only. I've seen a lot of people have a difficult time here. In hard mode, though, grab Crypt Cloak. The enemies in this stage will not... The enemies in here, well, only the Gel 101s will still make themselves a threat to you. Simply because they don't operate on any sort of detection. And that was Fishman stage. I actually really like this one. As a Robot Master stage, I will admit, it's not the greatest. It really has nothing truly 100% new to it. But the only reason I bothered to bring that up at all is because this game was literally designed so that every stage was a Robot Master stage. Practically a celebration of the main enemies that function as Mega Man's Rogues Gallery. That being said though, as a Fortress stage, Fishman stage does an incredibly good job for what it set out to do. Putting enemies in new and difficult combinations, such as Elite and Petri Fish, Rude Tube and Sniper Joe, and then Rude Tube, Sniper Joe, and Petri Fish all at once. And then also used water to put pit rods in an entirely different and honestly much more difficult scenario. I love this stage simply because it does so many interesting and unusual things. And as I'm sure you've noticed, for a water stage, besides like a few rooms, it didn't really use spikes all that often. I can appreciate that. Like, water and spikes is definitely a Mega Man tradition, but I do like that it doesn't just rely on that to threaten you. Speaking of threatening you, Fishman himself is not an easy boss fight. Now, one thing I have to mention, this music here is not the theme that normally plays for Fishman's battle. Normally he gets the regular Robot Master theme. I just decided to basically modify the game in order to put the music in there. It's actually not hard. The soundtrack of the game is all in these OGG files separate from the game itself. So you can literally customize your music. Anyway, as for the boss battle going on in the background, as you can see, CD came back to life, and Fishman is using him as a mount. If CD quickly pops out of one of those alcoves, it's the same old spiral shot. If, however, he's moving more slowly, he's going to fly across the room. On the bottom, he just flies forwards. But on the top, he drops bombs downwards at random. Though Fishman manages to make CD maybe a touch more dangerous, but honestly, Not really. I've seen deadlier from his first fight. Fishman, on the other hand, well, it's a good thing this slide alcove was added to him. Because he is... oh boy. Don't be surprised if Fishman kills you once or twice. If he jumps normally, and there aren't already fish finders present, he's gonna add a few to the fight in order to keep things dangerous. This way we actually do get to see how they behave. If he swims into one of the bottom alcoves, he's going to launch that fish finder school while swimming across the top of the screen. On normal mode, this isn't so bad, but on hard mode, yikes! Even on normal mode, it is still his most dangerous attack. If he swims into a bottom alcove, though, he's going to swim... okay, no, bottom alcove. If he pops into a top alcove, he's going to swim across the screen and drop bombs on you. The bottom alcove one is a lot easier to dodge, and is probably the attack you want him to use the most. Now, additional details regarding him. All of the fortress bosses in the game proper actually do that. Have multiple phases. So, we're in for perhaps a bit of a doozy that way. All the bosses are going to be maybe just a touch on the long side, but really only a touch. Anyway, there is one last thing I would like to show before we call it quits here, and that is the wonders of Dive Man and Fireman when underwater. Because after all, they're affected by the water in various ways, although the effects on the two are slightly different. Dive Man, as you probably noticed, gains a significant speed boost, and his regular shot becomes a spread shot. His homing missile is still the same old, but his dash, I believe, is not only a little faster now, but it also covers a lot more distance. As you might guess, he absolutely wrecks Fishman. In fact, I believe Fishman is actually weak to him. Fireman, on the other hand, doesn't benefit quite as much from the underwater. In fact, I would even go so far as to say it weakens him fairly significantly. Alright, I'm gonna need to tank some of these hits here, because I am running out of time. Hopefully I can kill Seedy quickly. Okay. Fireman, when underwater, loses his ignition, causing him to spray bubbles instead. That being said, they aren't harmless bubbles. And he can basically use them to just float. So, he's unusual, a little awkward, but he doesn't actually suck underwater. A little preview of what the Infinite Beta Fireman was like. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for Justice Stage 2. I'm running out of time, so I gotta go. Goodbye!